I recall the moment I first grasped the strength of the mind. I was practicing alone, late into the night when fatigue took over. My muscles were sore, sweat poured from every inch of me, and my form was starting to slip. Then something remarkable occurred. In that instant of physical weakness, my mind decided to push through the pain. One more strike, one more kick, one more breath. And in that choice, I uncovered the deepest truth about human potential. Your mind shapes your reality. Not in the future, not someday. Right now, with every thought you have, with every belief you hold, with every decision you make or avoid. This is the secret I've spent my life understanding. And today, I will share it with you fully. But be warned. Once you truly understand what I'm about to reveal, you can never see the world the same way again. Are you prepared for this truth? Many people go through life never realizing the battle within their own minds. They blame circumstances, others fate, but they never see that the prison they feel trapped in was built by their own thoughts. I know this because I built such a prison for myself. As a young man in Hong Kong, I was filled with anger, impatience, and a burning need to prove myself. My mind created a reality where I had to fight for everything, where the world was against me, where I was never enough. And so that became my truth. The fights I got into, the challenges I faced, they weren't happening to me. They were happening through me, manifestations of the reality I had created in my mind. Let me share with you the most formidable opponent I ever encountered. It wasn't what Jack I encountered. It wasn't what Jack felt imagined. It wasn't any of the masters who challenged my teaching of non-Chinese students. My greatest adversary revealed itself to me one night as I struck a wooden dummy. After hours of training, my knuckles bleeding, my forearms bruised, I saw my reflection in a mirror across the room. And there it was, fear. Not fear of others, but fear of failing myself. Fear that all my philosophy, all my training, all my talk of being like water was just talk. In that moment, I realized something that changed everything. The mind that had created that fear could also create its opposite. The same force that had imprisoned me could set me free. You feel it too, don't you? Don't you? That constant struggle in your mind. The voice that says you're not good enough, not ready, not strong enough. The voice that reminds you of past failures and warns of future ones. This voice isn't your enemy. It's simply a reality you've created, a pattern of thought that has become so familiar, it feels like truth. But here is the liberating secret. What the mind can create, the mind can change. Your thoughts are not facts, they are choices. They are choices. And in every moment, with every breath, you have the power to choose again. This is not positive thinking. This is not wishful dreaming. This is the fundamental nature of human consciousness, the ability to direct mental energy toward creation or destruction. I once had a student who came to me after being told by several masters that he would never achieve high-level martial arts. His body was stiff, his movements robotic, his techniques weak. For weeks, I watched him train, pushing himself to exhaustion yet making little progress. Then, one day, I asked him a simple question. Who told you that you couldn't be fluid? He looked confused, then recounted all the teachers who had deemed him hopeless. No, I said, before them. Who first planted this belief in your mind? Tears welled in his eyes as he recalled his father mocking his childhood attempts at sports. You see, I told him. You see, I told him, isn't stiff, your mind is. Your reality isn't created by what happened to you. It's created by the story you keep telling yourself about what happened. Within months, this same hopeless student was moving with grace that surprised even himself. Nothing in his body had changed, everything in his mind had. Society conditions us to believe that reality is something that happens to us, something fixed and unchangeable, that we must simply endure or adapt to. This is the greatest lie ever told to human beings. Reality is not what happens to you. Reality is how you interpret what happens to you. It's the meaning you assign to events. It's the focus you choose to maintain. It's the questions you habitually ask yourself. Why does this always happen to me? Creates a very different reality than what can I learn from this. Your mind doesn't just passively perceive reality. It actively creates it through the filters of your deepest beliefs. Change the filters, and you change everything. Let me share with you the 3 mental prisons that trap most people and prevent them from creating the reality they desire. The first is the prison of the fixed past. People constantly reference what happened before as proof of what's possible now. I've always been this way. I've tried and failed before. That's not how I was raised. Listen carefully. The past exists only as electrical patterns in your brain. It has no power except the power you give it through attention. When you use the past as evidence against your potential, you're using your creative power in reverse, building walls instead of bridges, digging ditches instead of mountains. The past is not your identity. It is merely a story, and stories can be rewritten. The second mental prison is the illusion of limitation. How many times have you said, "I can't," before even attempting something? This phrase is a lie. The truth is, I can, but I choose not to. Or I can, but I haven't learned how yet. When I began developing Jeet Kune Do, critics said it was impossible to create an effective fighting style that borrowed from so many different traditions. They were trapped in the prison of what is, rather than exploring what could be. Remember, the boundary of what's possible exists only in your mind. Roger Bannister was told by medical experts that running a mile in under 4 minutes was physically impossible until he did it. Then, within years, dozens of others accomplished the same impossible feat. The limitation wasn't in human capability. It was in human belief. The third and most dangerous prison is the disconnection from present power. Most people live either in regret about the past or anxiety about the future. But your power to create reality exists only in this moment, right now. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, now. When you train in martial arts, if your mind wanders to a previous mistake or worries about an upcoming tournament, you are not fully present. And when you are not present, you cannot access your full power, your full creativity, your full capacity to shape reality. This moment, right now, as I speak these words and you hear them, contains all the power you will ever need to transform your life. But you must be fully here to use it. Now, let me show you the 4 specific mental techniques I developed to break free from these prisons and consciously create my own reality. I've never shared these in any interview, never taught them in any formal class. These are the inner practices that transformed me from an angry young man into someone who could truly express himself without limitation. The first technique is what I call reality questioning. Take any belief that limits you and ask, is this absolutely true? Can I know with complete certainty that this is true? Who would I be without this thought? What reality could I create if I believed the opposite? When I faced racism in Hollywood, being told Asian men couldn't be leading actors, I didn't accept this as reality. I questioned it. And in questioning it, I began to create a new possibility that eventually manifested. The second technique is directed mental rehearsal. Most people rehearse failure. They imagine what will go wrong. They feel the disappointment in advance. They mentally practice the very scenarios they hope to avoid. This is using the creative power of your mind against yourself. Instead, I would spend hours in vivid, detailed mental rehearsal of perfect execution, not just of martial arts techniques, but of interactions, opportunities, and outcomes. Before I stepped onto any movie set, I had already filmed the entire scene perfectly in my mind hundreds of times. The external performance was merely a physical manifestation of what I had already created mentally. Your mind cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and an actual one. Use this to your advantage. The third technique is what I call emotional transmutation. Emotions are pure energy. Fear, anger, frustration, these are not your enemies. They are fuel waiting to be redirected. When I felt fear before a challenge, I wouldn't try to eliminate it. That's fighting against yourself. Instead, I would transmute that same energy into focused intensity. Same energy, different application. Think of water turning to steam. It's the same substance in a more powerful form. Your unwanted emotions contain the exact energy you need to create your desired reality. Don't suppress them. Don't express them. Don't express them destructively. Convert them and convert them. Redirect their power toward creation rather than destruction. The fourth and most powerful technique is identity shifting. Your sense of self, who you believe you are, creates boundaries around what's possible in your reality. When I moved beyond seeing myself as Bruce Lee, the martial artist, and recognized myself as an artist expressing through martial arts, entire new realities opened to me. Film, philosophy, teaching. These weren't separate from my martial arts. They were different expressions of the same core identity. Ask yourself, who am I beyond my labels, beyond my history, beyond my current circumstances? Then consciously choose an identity that creates the reality you desire, not as pretense, not as wishful thinking, but as recognition of a deeper truth about your potential. I remember standing on the set of Enter the Dragon, watching the crew prepare for a complex fight scene. One of the producers approached me, concerned about whether I could execute the movements exactly as choreographed. I smiled and told him, the scene has already been shot perfectly. He looked confused. Where? He asked. I tapped my temple and said, here. Now we're just transferring it to film. He laughed, thinking I was making a joke, but I was sharing the most profound truth I knew about creation. Everything is created twice, first in the mind, then in physical reality. Most people are unconscious creators, letting their habitual thoughts and beliefs shape their experience without awareness. But you have the capacity to become a conscious creator, deliberately directing the awesome power of your mind toward the reality you choose. Let me tell you about the exact moment I understood how completely our minds create our physical reality. I was training intensely for a tournament, pushing my body to its absolute limits. During one session, I tore a muscle in my leg, a serious injury that should have taken weeks to heal. But I couldn't afford weeks. I had commitments, obligations, a reputation to uphold. So I made a decision. I would accelerate the healing process through the power of my mind. For hours each day, I would enter a state of deep meditation, visualizing the muscle fibers reconnecting, feeling the healing heat increasing in the area, directing my Kai to the exact location of the injury. The doctors were astonished when I was back to full training in days rather than weeks. They called it a medical anomaly. I called it proof of what I had always suspected, that the body is a perfect reflection of the mind's expectations. This isn't mystical thinking. Science is now confirming what ancient wisdom has always taught, that your thoughts create measurable changes in your biochemistry, your neural pathways, even your genetic expression. When you think a stressful thought, your body produces cortisol. When you think a peaceful thought, your body produces serotonin. Different mental states create different physical realities within you. And if your mind can change your internal reality so dramatically, why do you doubt its power to change your external reality just as profoundly? The boundary between in here and out there is far more permeable than you've been led to believe. Most people approach life's challenges with tension, physical tension, mental rigidity, emotional resistance there. But tension defeats your power to create. Remember my famous quote, "Be like water." This isn't just poetry. It's a precise instruction for reality creation. Water doesn't struggle against obstacles. It flows around them. It doesn't resist containers. It adapts to them while maintaining its essential nature. When you approach reality creation with the fluid adaptability of water, rather than the brittle resistance of ice, you discover that many of your perceived obstacles aren't obstacles at all. At all. They're opportunities for creative redirection. The rigid mind says, this shouldn't be happening. The fluid mind asks, how can I use this to create something even better than I had planned? Let me reveal something personal. Throughout my career, I faced constant resistance from traditional martial arts masters who thought my approach was disrespectful, from Hollywood executives who didn't believe an Asian man could carry a film, from critics who misunderstood my philosophy. There were moments when this resistance felt overwhelming, when I questioned my path. In those moments, I would practice what I now share with you. Instead of seeing resistance as reality, I recognized it as information. Every no was teaching me something essential about the reality I was attempting to create. Every closed door was directing me toward doors that would open. I wasn't being rejected by reality. I was being redirected by it. This perspective shift changed everything. The same circumstances that could create bitter disappointment when viewed one way created valuable guidance when viewed another. Now I want to teach you the most crucial principle of conscious reality creation, the unity of being and doing. Many people try to change their reality through action alone, through working harder, through constant doing. Others focus only on changing their thoughts and feelings, believing that inner transformation is enough. Both approaches are incomplete. True reality creation happens when your thoughts and actions, words and actions all align toward the same vision. When who you are being is in perfect harmony with what you are doing, when there is no contradiction between your internal state and your external behavior. This alignment creates a power that can literally bend reality around you. People sense it. Opportunities respond to it. Circumstances reorganize themselves to reflect it. I've observed thousands of students over the years. The ones who transformed most profoundly were not those with the most physical talent or the most forceful personality. They were those who achieved this alignment, whose minds, hearts, words, and actions all pointed in the same direction like a perfectly thrown spear. This alignment doesn't require perfection. It requires honesty. It requires integrity in the original sense of the word. Wholeness, undividedness. When you say one thing but believe another, when you act confident but feel fearful, when you pursue goals that don't truly resonate with your deepest values, you create internal division. And this division sabotages your creative power. Alignment means having the courage to know what you truly desire and to show up fully for it without contradiction or compromise. Consider how you approach your greatest challenges. Most people enter difficult situations already divided against themselves, part of them committed to success, part preparing for failure, part seeking growth, part avoiding pain. This internal civil war depletes the very energy needed for creation. Instead, imagine approaching each situation as I would approach an opponent in combat with total presence, complete commitment, and unified intention. Not split between past regrets and future worries. Not divided between what you want and what you fear and what you fear. Just fully here, fully now, fully aligned with your chosen purpose. This state of unified presence is what athletes call the zone, what artists call flow, what warriors call mushin no mind. It is the most powerful creative state a human being can enter. I want to address something important. The reality you create will always be tested. When you begin consciously reshaping your thoughts to create a new reality, the old reality doesn't simply disappear. It pushes back. It tests your conviction. Circumstances may temporarily worsen before they improve. People may question or oppose your new direction. Your own habitual thinking will attempt to pull you back to familiar territory. These tests aren't signs of failure. They're opportunities for strengthening your creative resolve. When I first declared my intention to become a film star, despite the racial barriers in Hollywood, the initial rejection was intense. Each no was a test. Do you really believe what you claim to believe? Are you willing to persist in your new reality, even when all evidence suggests it's impossible? I passed those tests not through magical thinking, but through maintaining alignment, even when it was most difficult. Here's a truth most teachers won't tell you. Doubt is an essential part of reality creation. Not the paralyzing doubt that keeps you stuck, but the questioning doubt that refines your creation. When doubt arises, don't suppress it. Examine it. Ask, is this doubt showing me a genuine flaw in my approach that needs correction? Or is it simply the voice of old conditioning, trying to keep me safe in familiar territory? Learn to distinguish between wisdom doubt that improves your creation and fear doubt that abandons it. I constantly questioned and refined my martial arts approach, my philosophical ideas, my teaching methods. This questioning didn't weaken my vision. It strengthened it. True conviction isn't blind faith. It's faith that has faced every doubt and incorporated every useful correction while maintaining its essential direction. Now, let me give you specific practices to begin consciously creating your reality today. First, the morning mind-setting ritual. The first 30 minutes after waking are when your brain is most receptive to programming. Most people waste this time scrolling through phones, immediately filling their minds with others' creations. Instead, use this time to consciously set the mental patterns for your day. I would rise before dawn and spend this time in meditation, visualization, and physical movement that reinforced my intended reality, not as a motivational exercise, but as literal reality creation, impressing upon my subconscious the exact experience I intended to manifest. Second, practice hourly awareness interrupts. Your habitual thought patterns run on autopilot most of the day, creating by default rather than by design. Set an hourly reminder on your watch or phone. When it sounds, pause and ask, what reality am I creating right now with my current thoughts? Is this the reality I choose to create? If not, what thoughts would create what I prefer? This simple pattern interrupt prevents you from spending hours unconsciously creating realities you don't want. I would use training sessions for this, making each punch, each kick an opportunity to notice my mental state and adjust it if needed. Third, employ the as-if principle. For one full day each week, live as if your desired reality were already completed. Not pretending, not affirmations, but a complete mental and emotional embodiment of the state you're creating. How would you hold your body if you were already the success you desire to be? How would you speak? What would you focus on? What would you no longer worry about? When I was still an unknown actor with small roles, once a week I would live as if I were already an established film star, not in arrogance, but in the calm confidence and focused presence that this reality would require. I wasn't pretending to be something I wasn't. I was rehearsing something I intended to become. Finally, practice expanded identity. Most reality creation fails because people try to create realities that their current identity cannot sustain. If you see yourself as someone who always struggles with money, then abundance cannot enter your reality because it would violate your sense of self. Each night before sleep, ask yourself, who would I need to become to create the reality I desire? What beliefs, perspectives, and qualities would this version of me embody? Then mentally step into this expanded identity. Feel what it feels like. See through its eyes. This isn't fantasy, it's intentional evolution of the self. I didn't achieve what I did by remaining the same person trying harder. I continually evolved who I was at the core level, allowing new realities to become natural extensions of this evolving identity. Let me tell you about the most powerful moment in my reality creation journey. I was sitting in a meeting with Hollywood producers who were explaining all the reasons why an Asian-led actor wouldn't work for American audiences. As they spoke, I had a choice. I could accept their reality as my reality, or I could maintain the reality I was creating, despite all contrary evidence. In that moment, I didn't argue. I didn't try to convince them. I simply remained so completely aligned with my vision that my entire being radiated it. After I left, one producer turned to another and said, maybe we're wrong about this. That single crack in their certainty eventually led to opportunities that changed film history. I didn't change their minds through persuasion. I changed them by refusing to enter their reality while maintaining such powerful alignment with my own that it became the more compelling alternative. This brings us to the ultimate truth about mind and reality creation. Your power doesn't come from controlling external circumstances. It comes from becoming so unshakable in your mental alignment that reality has no choice but to reorganize around you. You. Like gravity, this force doesn't work through effort or struggle. It works through consistent, unwavering embodiment of what you know to be possible. When you fight against current reality, you give it power. When you simply occupy a new reality with your entire being, the old reality loses its grip. This isn't magical thinking. It's the practical application of a fundamental principle. Energy flows where attention goes, and physical manifestation follows with mathematical precision. Now I offer you the most important challenge of your life, more important than any physical feat, any career achievement, any social recognition. For the next 7 days, become the conscious creator of your reality in every moment. Not just in the comfortable moments, not just in the private moments, but in the challenging moments, the public moments, the moments when everything and everyone seems to be reinforcing a reality you don't choose to experience. Maintain your mental alignment not as a philosophical exercise, but as a practical technology for literal reality creation. Each morning, set your reality parameters with absolute clarity. Throughout the day, notice when you've slipped into unconscious creation and gently return to conscious choice. Each evening, review where you succeeded and where you can refine your approach. Day 1, focus on creating reality through your perception, deliberately choosing what you notice and what meaning you assign to events. Day 2, create through conversation, ensuring that every word you speak aligns with the reality you're creating, rather than the reality you're leaving behind. Day 3, create through bodily state, maintaining the posture, movement, and physical energy that your desired reality would naturally produce. Day 4, create through decision-making, making choices from the perspective of already being in your new reality, rather than trying to reach it. Day 5, create through environment, rearranging your physical space to reflect and support your intended creation. Day 6, create through relationship, interacting with others from your aligned state without being pulled into competing realities. Day 7, create through challenge, maintaining your creative alignment, especially when circumstances test your resolve. In this 7-day practice, you'll encounter resistance from your own habitual thinking, from others who are invested in your old reality, from circumstances that seem to contradict what you're creating. This resistance isn't failure. It's confirmation that you're genuinely shifting reality rather than just thinking nice thoughts. Creation always involves disruption before reconstruction. The caterpillar must dissolve before becoming a butterfly. But your old reality must be disrupted before your new one can fully manifest. Welcome the disruption as evidence of real transformation, not as proof that your creation isn't working. Let me tell you what I discovered through years of conscious reality creation. The process never ends. There is no final destination where you can say, my reality is perfect now. The mind that created one reality will eventually seek to create an even more expanded one. This isn't a journey with an end, it's an eternal unfoldment of greater and greater possibilities. I continually evolved my martial arts, my philosophy, my expression, because the creative impulse itself is infinite. Don't create a specific reality with the expectation that you'll finally be complete when you achieve it. Create for the joy of creating. Create because conscious creation is the highest expression of human potential. Create because in the act of creation itself, you discover who you truly are beyond all limiting identities. Look around you right now. Everything you experience as your life began as thought patterns in your mind. The relationships you're in, the work you do, the state of your health, your financial circumstances, all are physical manifestations of your most persistent mental patterns. Not your occasional wishful thinking, but your deep, often unconscious beliefs about what's possible for someone like you. The exciting truth is that, as conscious as I've been about reality creation, you can be even more so. You can create with even greater precision, even greater alignment, even greater persistence. And the technology of mind that I applied to martial arts and film, you can apply to any area of life with equal or greater results. Your mind is not merely a processing center for incoming data from a fixed reality. Your mind is a reality-generating technology of unimaginable power. Like any technology, it can be used unconsciously, haphazardly, even destructively, or it can be mastered, directed, and applied with precision. Most people never discover this mastery because they're too busy reacting to the reality their unconscious patterns have already created. They're caught in a loop, using the creative power of their minds to perpetuate the very conditions they wish to change. Today, right now, you can step out of that loop. You can recognize yourself not as a passive experiencer of reality, but as its active, conscious creator. Remember this, the mind that created your current challenges is the same mind that can create your desired solutions. The mind that has felt limited can create experiences of limitless possibility. The mind that has believed itself small can recognize its infinite capacity. Infinite capacity. I discovered this truth through martial arts, through film, through teaching, through every aspect of my life's work. But you don't need to follow my path to apply the same principles. Whatever arena you've chosen for your life's expression, business, art, science, relationships, service, it can become your laboratory for conscious reality creation. The specific form doesn't matter. The creative principle remains the same. Your mind, fully aligned and persistently focused, is the most powerful creative force in your personal universe. As we conclude this journey together, I leave you with the truth that transformed my existence from one of struggle against reality to one of partnership with it. You are not subject to the world. You are the subject of your world. Subject of your world. Every limitation you experience exists first and foremost as a thought pattern that you have the power to change. Every possibility you envision exists first and foremost as a thought pattern that you have the power to strengthen. What you consistently think, you eventually become. What you persistently imagine, you eventually create. Not by magic, not by wishful thinking, but by the precise application of the most powerful creative technology you'll ever possess. You'll ever possess your own magnificent mind. Flow beyond the boundaries of what you've believed possible. Create beyond the limitations of what you've experienced before. Because the mind that recognizes its own creative power becomes like water indeed, capable of adapting to any circumstance while maintaining its essential nature, capable of flowing around any obstacle, capable even of eventually wearing away stone, not through force, but through gentle, persistent creation. Your reality awaits not your discovery, but your creation. Begin